Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
How do you communicate with your kids? And how do you get your message across to them so that they understand? Do you end up repeating yourself constantly? Do you back down sometimes because actually it's just all too hard? Or does it stress you out and make you annoyed and impatient? Today we're looking at powerful parenting communication, asserting what you want and knowing how to get your message across to your children, and in turn listening to them, their needs and wants, and finding that happy medium. Now this takes a lot of understanding of the person you're dealing with and a willingness to get to know and recognise who they are. Tools like the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator are really important in this journey. Let us take a quick look at the communication styles of the MBTI preferences. Now, the extroverts could be great communicators as they're happy to show their thoughts and their feelings to the outer world. However, these thoughts might not be well thought out, and they can hurt others in the process of saying what's on their mind without thinking it through. Introverts are great communicators too. Their quieter demeanour and well thought out conversations can be very effective and informative. However, sometimes introverts keep things that they might want or need to say stored in their heads until an event triggers anger and frustration and causes them to speak out. In these situations, they can say more than they originally intended as their emotions have been bottled up for so long. This can make their communication melodramatic and overwhelming. Feeling types have a warm, friendly manner, but fail to get their true message across sometimes because they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Whereas the opposite can happen for thinking types. They're straight, logical speakers and can sometimes offend the people they're talking to with their communication style. Now, most sensing types like their communication with as many details as possible and like to see the steps that are going to get them to that end result. The big picture doesn't make sense until the details are given. Whereas most intuitive types prefer to communicate using their big picture ideas and embracing theories and concepts. The details can really bore them. Judging types like to organise and structure their communication environments when relating to people. They find that disorganisation and chaos is stressful and hard to handle, and they become stressed if their plans are dismissed or changed. And then there are the perceiving types, who like to go with the flow and don't worry too much about how it all looks. However, their lack of boundaries and structure can create distrust in when they say they're going to do something and whether it's actually going to happen. I'm Kate Mason and welcome to Parenting and Personalities. This is the podcast that connects you to the ones you care about the most. Today we're talking to Sarah Best, who is amongst many things, mum of 3, play centre facilitator, brainwave trust Kieko, change activist, conscious parenting advocate, and the author of Changing the World is Child's Play. Sarah shares her passion in making the world a better place because she believes it can be done. Hi Sarah, it's great to have you back here with us again.
Hi, kia ora Kate, good to be back.
Now in our previous podcast we discussed play and how we can encourage our child's play and be part of their playtime journey. Today we're going to look at powerful parenting, how to communicate effectively and powerfully with children. So one of the things that often is tricky when we're trying to be effective communicators with our children is when we're angry or we're stressed. And our reaction to them or their reaction to a situation like that, I'm just wondering if you can explain to us simply what's actually happening to our brains and our kids' brains when we're stressed and angry.
Oh yes, this is a really important thing to understand because it's happening all the time. No matter how good a parent, there's times when it all goes pear-shaped every day, at least once a day. And one way of thinking about this is if you actually use your hand to figure out about the brain. So put your hand into a fist with your thumb tucked in under the fingers. And the wrist part is the brain stem. This is the survival part of your brain. This is the part that is focused on keeping you alive and sending messages to and from your body and making sure that you're safe, basically. In the middle, if you lift up your fingers, the thumb tucked in the middle there, this is the limbic system. And this is the part of the brain that is storing memories and making sense of linking emotions and memories together and creating all the emotions. The emotions are actually created through chemicals, but this is what kicks all of that process off. So emotions in the middle and memories, and then over the top is the fingers, and this is the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of the brain that is the last to develop, and it's the thinking part of the brain. It's the part that we can rely on for problem solving, rationalizing, logic, all of that sort of thing. Lots of the adult functions that we have are in this part. Now, the bad news is that part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, is the last to develop, and that's not fully complete until the mid-20s. So that's how the brain is developing. The emotions and memories are being developed in those early years, and then the rest of it starts to come online more solidly kind of later, around about 7 or 8. And that's when the thinking, you can say to a child, "Why did you do that?" And they can actually answer you rather than just giving you a blank look. So this is what's going on in the brain for development. Now, when we get stressed, what is it that you lose? You lose the ability to think straight. That's one of the main things that happens. So it's like your fingers have flipped up and your emotions are running the show. And this is what's happening in your brain when you're stressed. And it's also happening in your child's brain when they get stressed. Now, we get stressed when we're cold, hungry, tired, frustrated, lonely. Any of those sorts of things are actually creating this stress response. And so, if you are feeling stressed and you are emotionally charged, your child will also be picking this up as well. So if you go in to try and deal with a situation and you're stressed, the likelihood is that your child will also feel quite stressed with this situation. So what do we do? What do we do about this? It is difficult. First of all, it's really difficult, especially if we were not taught as young children how to calm down when we're stressed, which is, I certainly was not. It certainly wasn't sat down, right, Sarah, this is how you calm down. We didn't really talk about stress. We didn't talk about how to calm your anger. We got told to count, maybe to breathe, but it wasn't really discussed that much. So figuring out what works for you to calm down, whether it is taking some breaths, that is the main one actually, because that soothes your whole body, your whole nervous system, and it tells the brain, it's all right, I'm not about to die, you can just settle down and then we can sort this one through, because the brain is thinking you're about to die. That's what it's doing.
Right.
So finding a way to breathe or go for a walk or say something to yourself that helps you to calm down, so that you can then go and deal with the situation in a calm way. Now, this takes a lot of practice, and it also helps if you can assume the best intentions of the child. Let's assume that whatever they've done, they didn't do to ruin your day. They didn't do it on purpose to make your life hard. They've mucked something up. They've not thought something through. They're acting their stress response out and not knowing how to deal with it. So what I find really helpful is when a child's behaving badly and I'm tempted to get angry with them, I have to remind myself they're stressed and they don't know how to deal with it. That's what they're actually communicating. And that helps me not to rush in and blame and judge and get angry with them. I can instead go, you're stressed and you don't know how to deal with it. I say this in my head. And then I encourage parents to then think about, what is the need of the child? What do they actually need? And try and meet that need. I mean, there's not a silver bullet here. It's about trying things out and giving it a go. And you soon find what works or doesn't work.
And I think, like you say, understanding that very simple hand movement that you do that explains the brain, and it is out there on the internet too.
Yes, check it out.
What's it called?
Some people call it the hand brain.
Yeah, so it is there, and understanding that's how your brain works, and then understanding that your children actually have no control over the emotional part of their brain until they're a lot older is really quite impactful, because most of the time we're expecting that they're going to respond in an adult way and be able to logically reason through things and have control of their emotional cortex or whatever, but they don't. So understanding that's really, really, really important, I think, to start with. And even just me looking at that simple thing and going, wow, well, that's great. And like even explaining perhaps to your child at a certain age that you understand that they can't do that. And when they do flip out and get upset, that is okay, and you will help them calm down. I don't know, because we don't. Yeah. I mean, we never used to talk like that to our children. There was never anything around like this. There was no understanding given to us.
No, we didn't know. Yeah.
No, nobody sat and said, this is how your brain works. So let's give those children a chance when they're having a meltdown and doing all of those things.
Yeah, because it's very tempting with a child having a meltdown to go in and say, now you need to think about what you've done, or another one is what happened. A lot of parents want to go and ask what happened, and that's asking the child to come back with a rational answer. They're not in the rational part of their brain at that time. We must help them to calm down first before expecting them to be able to answer in a calm way. And if they're a very young child, they often don't have much access to that rational part of their brain anyway. So
what do you recommend if your child's having a meltdown? What do you recommend is your first? You're not going to be saying to them, calm down. You're not going to be saying to them what happened. What do you recommend that the action is that you take most of the time would be a good action? Yeah.
So first of all, calming yourself down so that you can think straight. So find a way to stay in a calm space as much as possible. And I know that's really, really hard. But the more you practice it, remember that word myelination from our last podcast, the more you practice something, the better you get at it. So keep trying. So calming yourself down as much as possible, and then saying what you see is going on. Something like, wow, you're having real trouble with that. Or, gosh, that looks tough. Something to acknowledge what you see is happening. And you may want to add an emotion in there. You look frustrated. That's a common one. Wow, this is important for you to get this right, and you're finding it really hard. It's not working. Or you're sad, or you're angry, or whatever. Get fluent with emotions. Find some new emotional words. It's quite fun, and it helps the child to understand, oh, okay, so something is going on with me. It helps them feel seen and heard, and that's the main thing a human being needs, is to actually feel seen and heard, rather than someone saying, oh, you shouldn't feel like that. You ever had that before, Kate? I'm sure people, oh no, don't feel bad. Don't feel like that. And I mean, generally we are not very fluent with emotions. So trying to be more fluent with emotions will be helpful for children. And using that, say what you see. That's a phrase that I use a lot with the parents I work with. Say what you see is going on. You were trying to build that tower and it all crashed down. Oh, how frustrating. Something like that, rather than, oh, it's just a tower, you can sort it out, which is, we want to dive in and save. We want to try and take away the pain. And actually, that's not what the child needs. They need us to see that they are struggling and be there ready to help them when they're ready. So something like, would you like a hug? Could I help you? Would you like, me to have a go? Anything you need from me? Something like that could be helpful, more helpful than taking over.
Is your business in endless chaos? Are you constantly in a state of self-criticism and unhappiness? Feeling out of control? Well, take back your life. This is something I can help you with. Let me teach you the tools of self-understanding and self-love. You won't look back. Take the first step and email me for a chat at thepersonalitycoach.com.au. They are excellent cues, and they really are. And in this speaking to feelings, it's something that I'm talking about with adults at the moment too. And the amount of times that we will go in and they say, oh, I'm feeling really sad. No, you're not feeling sad. Why are you sad? You've had a really good day today. That we like to tell others how they're feeling. We're not very good. We're not very good at going in with, wow, that must be pretty tough if you're feeling sad about that.
Yeah. And I'm lucky because I
hard.
also facilitate workshops for an organisation called Thriving Under Fire, which helps adults deal with emotional situations.
Yes.
And you can certainly use this with parenting. It's very, very helpful. And it will help the children to be more emotionally literate and competent when they're older. And loads of research now shows that emotional intelligence is actually a far greater indicator of success and joy and happiness in life than your IQ.
And it can be built on. That's the thing about emotional intelligence.
It can be grown.
It can be developed. Very, very, very important. Now, the other thing we were going to talk about today is assertiveness as a parent. Like how do you what's your formula for being an assertive parent?
Yes, I'm very passionate about assertiveness with adults and as well as with working with children. In New Zealand here, we're not very good at doing the assertive thing. People often get
we are
scared.
here either.
No, maybe not. There's a fear of coming across as aggressive. And so the formula I've worked with is kind, firm and clear. So the kindness stops it becoming aggression. The firm and clear stop it from falling into the passive space or passive aggressive, which is another way that people often interact. It's a cultural phenomenon we have. But kind, firm and clear. So saying what you see without judgment and saying this is what needs to happen. So there are times we need to say no to our children. There are times we need to set boundaries, and saying that in a way that rather than, oh, you should know these things, which hasn't got the kindness, it's, okay, I said it was time to finish and it's time to finish now. And you're really upset about that. That kindness is allowing that empathy to come in and appreciate that the child is not happy with this turn of events, that they would like it another way and it needs to be this way. So another word to use a lot is and as well, rather than but. You're not happy, but you have to suck it up. You're not happy and we're going to do it anyway. So, there's a few hints.
Does that require repetition?
Yes.
Or is that, yes.
Yes.
So that's another practice.
Lots of repetition. The more you repeat, the better you get at it.
Yes.
And it will feel uncomfortable at first. Just like anything new that you are trying. It feels strange. It feels, a bit uncomfortable. And it's harder work. It'll go against some of the teachings you had as a child and the water we swim in as well. It will go against a lot of that. And, you don't have to try these things. However, if you'd like a different result, you need to take a different action. And these are some ideas for some new ways of dealing with children and getting your message across clearly and holding to that. My children have taught me a lot about being assertive.
and so this works, this actually works. So if people are going to try it, it will definitely work. Will it take many times for it to work? Like if the child goes, well, no, and stands up to it, what do you just reiterate it again?
Hold the line. Hold the line.
Okay.
Try it, say it in a different way. Don't be a broken record. So have a few different ways of saying the same thing, and that comes with practice. And having it on the tip of your tongue takes practice. And remember, you might be a bit stressed if they come back with pushback. So remember to expect that they won't like it and try and acknowledge that they don't like this, as well as, and this is what needs to happen. It does take a long time to change this. And the other thing is that it often, even if the words are changed that you're saying, often the negative ways of saying things come out in the voice and in the body language. So it's about trying to have cohesive body language that isn't judging, and the tone doesn't have that little angle. Do you know when someone says something to you, Kate, and you feel like there's a dagger kind of being thrust in?
You do.
Didn't you do that thing? And that's coming out in the tone rather than didn't you do that thing? There's something different in the tone there, and it's about weeding out that judgment and that negative angle that makes it become aggressive, and you lose power with that, actually. Whereas with the assertiveness, if you can be truly assertive in the statement, there's so much power in that. Yeah, this is what is needing to happen.
Yeah. That's a great idea. And also, look, I'm an extremely sarcastic person, so removing sarcasm from that is all
time and place.
Really, really important. Time and place, absolutely. So true, so true. So do you, working with your parents, like I talk about personality differences, when you're working with your parents, do you notice that there are quite different ways that people deal with things, assertiveness and their stress levels due to their personalities that they are, and you have to teach them around that as well?
Yeah. Different people have different challenges around being assertive, and it depends on the combination of the parent and the child as well, and the different personalities that that they're having to work with. And there are lots of different ways of measuring those different personalities, but certainly some find it more easy than others to come across with the firm and clear, but maybe might struggle with the kind. And then others have got the kind in spades, but struggle with the firm or the clear parts. And same with the children, the combination between the parent and child, there might need to be a bit of work on more on one than the other. Depending on that combination, and then it changes. Just when you think it's sorted, the child changes, the circumstances change, and you need to be able to build proficiency in another context. So it's not easy. No, definitely not saying it's easy. No. It is simple. It's a simple idea, and it's not easy because we're going against years of training, and human beings are very complex.
We are. Yes. And that's the thing about parenting is, look, the hardest journey you're ever going to make, but the best journey, no matter what.
Absolutely. There's such an opportunity for growth and development and change. I've got a group of parents in it's a powerful parenting playground, and we've been working together for a year now, and I just continue to learn so much from them, as well as them learning a lot from me. And there's so much change is happening in a year with their children and their relationships. And it's just absolutely amazing to see the differences. And these things take time. You decide, right, I'm going to practice assertiveness, and it will take a year. And you'll look back and say, I'm doing that assertiveness thing now. Whereas a couple of months in, it might feel like not much change has happened. So stick at it. It takes a while. Keep looking into what you can do differently, and you'll reap the benefits in the long term.
Great advice, because really, and in the truth of everything is there's no change unless you change. You have to change your reaction and the way you approach things in order to create change. So
over and over again.
Yeah, that's right. Practice. And listen and learn, because like you say, there's so much out there in the area of parenting that we can all learn all the time. You never stop learning until you die, hopefully, because that's what keeps our brains going and keeps us working. And learning is exciting, especially when you discover stuff like you're telling us today, which you can put into action pretty simply. Yeah. And remember, what is it, 10,000 hours of practice that makes something perfect?
Yes.
Oh, there's a lot.
Many
there is
times.
A lot.
And
many.
It's, small changes can make a big difference, though.
They can.
Small changes over and over again to embed them as normal for you and comfortable for you can make a huge, huge change. Yeah.
And it can make parenting so much more enjoyable.
Yes, that's a goal I have, is to help people really delight in the parenting journey, even the hard stuff, even when you're getting called horrible names by your teenager, and being able to look at that moment and go, wow, okay, what a learning opportunity. Yeah.
And I want you to know, at the end, they get through that and they end up, on my lot, really great adults, so every stage is tricky, and even now, different, but you do get there, and along the journey, there's always a fantastic spot as well as the bad, the spot that's harder. There's always a great side to each age, I always say.
Absolutely.
Every step of the way.
Yeah. So, I'm a huge fan of teenagers at the moment, and they get a bad rap. And I
They
think
do.
it's unfair. There's
Yep.
so much wonderful potential. And yes, there's lots of difficulty with working with teenagers, and it can be absolutely amazing. Yeah. Find the
just need
joy
our
in
help
all of
too.
it. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much for being on today. It's wonderful
it's been
talking to you,
great.
Sarah. And hopefully we'll catch up with you again. Have a wonderful day.
Oh, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much, Kate. Bye.
Asserting yourself and teaching your children to do so is very important. Understanding the way our brains handle stress and how we release and cope with stress are important not only for us as adults, but our kids as well. After all, we can all flip our lids. But knowing how to cope with the emotions that come with this and the ways we can manage the outcome are a priority. I'm Kate Mason, and thank you for listening to Parenting and Personalities. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you could leave a rating and a review that would help others learn about the podcast. If you're interested in discovering more about you and your family's personality types, you'll find my newly launched book, Who Is This Monster or Treasure in My House, on Booktopia or Amazon. If you have an episode idea, please send a note to thepersonalitycoach@gmail.com. Many thanks to our producers at Stories and Strategies, and we'll see you next time.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.